I enjoy coming to work every day knowing that clients are depending on me to guide them through whatever financial needs they have.
Every client we have is different. And so it's really about finding out what's really the most important thing per client.
With financial planning, everything is interconnected. So a comprehensive plan means that you're taking care of income needs now, income needs in the intermediate term, and income needs long term. We'll do an asset cycle portfolio. We'll do a riskalyze test. We'll do a life insurance audit or a life insurance review.
And so when we build a deep relationship with our clients, then we can take a step back and then we can look at different options to help them specifically get to their goals. One of the things I feel our job is as advisors is to introduce strategies to clients that maybe they did not know that they were out there. But it's our our job to come out and say, have you ever thought about this?
And the planning it's not always about income, but a lot of it is also about the legacy. So the element of family is very important to us, and it's important to our clients.
Good morning. My name is Steve Jablonski, and I'm hosting Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush today. And we're right around tax season, so most people have probably filed their taxes. So we have most of 2018 to really do some things for our taxes for this year. There's been a major tax law change, and today our topic is Tax Cuts and Job Act. And with that said, morning, Jeff.
Well, hello, Steve, and welcome to the show. It's great to be here. And of course, as we tape this here in the early part of April of 2018, everybody's in the midst or maybe has already filed their taxes for 2017. So this is really timely in terms of planning now for 2018 in light of all the significant changes that have recently passed.
Yeah, and Jeff, really, before we get into our subject, Informed Family's been in the news lately. You want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so in the news, we've had the good fortune of being featured quite extensively in the news over the course of the past several months. Of course, you've been featured in the Norristown Patch, and our colleague Barry has been in Investopedia. And of course, I've been interviewed, and I wrote an article for the Reading Eagle, and I've also been in the Yahoo News and U.S. News and World Report. So a lot of stuff, a lot of good information out there. In addition to our public seminars, which we take our show on the road, and of course this medium right here on PCTV. We've been fortunate to be here on PCTV now for 5 years. Believe it or not, it's really hard to believe it's been that long. But you know, time flies when you're having fun. So we are having fun. It's good to be here on the network because not only are we shown here locally on cable, and the Pottstown community has been fabulous to us, but in addition to that, we were able to live stream our show when it's shown on the local cable here. It's being streamed on thepctvnetwork.com. So that really gives us good exposure. And in addition to that, of course, we put it on our website too, informedfamily.com. So it's good.
Yeah, and I think maybe, Jeff, a good place to start on this tax topic is maybe go back to the history. When did it start?
Yeah, so believe it or not, taxes have been part of us for over a century. 1913 was the 16th Amendment, which was the right to tax the people, so to speak. So a lot has happened. Well, a lot has happened, and not much has happened at the same time. There's only been a number of major revisions. There's been a lot of minor revisions to the tax code, but not a lot of major revisions, and there really hasn't been one since 1986. So the Tax Cut and Jobs Act of 2018 is really the first major revision in the tax code in over 30 years.
So how many major ones have there really been?
Just a handful.
Okay, a couple.
You know, maybe 5 or 6, a handful of major revisions. This one is really designed. Of course, we have a new president, and a new Congress and everything, and everything is designed to stimulate the economy and get more jobs and more money in the hands of people, and hopefully stimulate our economy. So time will tell if that will work, but that's the goal.
And what would you say would be some of the topics or the changes that will help Americans in this tax law?
Well, it's going to put more money in your pocket.
Okay.
So the cuts are pretty much across the board, from the lowest brackets, lowest earners, even up into the highest brackets. They said it was going to be tax simplification. After reading through some of the literature on that, I would debate whether it's really simplified. But it is going to put more money in the hands of Americans, which is going to give them more money to spend, and hopefully more money to save and invest for retirement.
Mm-hmm. And what did it do to the marginal rates?
Well, the marginal rates across the board went down.
Okay.
Some went, I think, when we looked at it, they went down significant. Well, I shouldn't say significantly. They went down in almost all cases. There's only like rare exceptions where the marginal tax rate didn't go down.
Okay. And so it helps.
And by the way, I just want to say, most people are watching this on a small screen, so we didn't inundate people with charts and graphs, because of which there are many.
Yes.
We could have put a chart up which showed what they are, but we didn't want to do that because the numbers would be so small they'd be hard to read. So if anybody's interested and they want more information, certainly call our office and we can get you some good information on specifics on the tax this tax reduction.
And so with that said, it just for working. It's putting more money in the Americans' pockets. What are some strategies, maybe around capital gains, proactive strategies?
Well, there's a lot of proactive strategies. So with respect to capital gains, the capital gains tax, it went down to 0% if you're married and your income's under is $77,000 a year or less. There's 0%. Capital gains tax, and if you're single, it's half that. It's $38,000.
Yeah.
So that's significant. If you have gains on your books, so to speak, stock that's highly appreciated, that kind of thing. I know you and I are working on a case now with one of our clients where they've got some old stock that's got some pretty significant gains in there, and we're talking about selling some of it to diversify the portfolio, that kind of thing. And she's in a low tax bracket. So that kind of thing can really work here. But beyond that, there's really some other things that we really feel are key. One of which is our good friend, the Roth conversion. Because with this legislation, with all the wonderful bells and whistles that they've come out with this new tax code, it has sunset legislation, which sunset means that it stops. The sun goes down. Yep. In the year 2025, all this stuff goes away. So none of these changes are quote-unquote permanent, even though maybe eventually they will be. But for right now, they're just, so it's only now for the next 7 years, yep, we're going to have all these changes to taxes. And then after that, it all goes back to where it was. Why they did that, I don't know. But it's not for us to debate why, yep, this today here on this show. But it does present some unique opportunities. With respect to the Roth conversion, think about that. If you have IRAs or 401ks in your portfolio and you convert them to a Roth account, so you go from traditional to Roth, you're going to pay the tax at today's rates, which theoretically are going to be lower than they are going to be after the year 2025. Yep. So you're actually paying taxes at a discount. How about that? Plus, with the Roth IRA, you get tax-free growth forever, yep, for your lifetime, and the lifetime of your spouse, and the lifetime of your children. So it's really a good, effective thing to do, is do conversions to a Roth IRA.
So at one's death, there's no taxes for the heirs on the Roth?
Yeah, so the way a Roth IRA works is you name your spouse as the beneficiary. Okay. If you're married, yep, you name your spouse as the beneficiary, and when the spouse inherits the Roth IRA, it's as if the IRA is their own. Okay. It's a spousal transfer, spousal IRA, and then it remains tax-free over their life. And then you have children. You name your children as beneficiaries, contingent beneficiaries. If you have a spouse, you name your spouse as primary. You name your child as contingent beneficiary. And when your children inherit the Roth IRA, it becomes tax-free over their lifetime. Wow. Okay, they just have to pay minimum distribution. Okay, so if you're, let's say you're in your 50s or 60s, okay, and your kids are in their 20s or 30s. Yep. Okay. Well, if you're 25, you know, you've got 60 to 70 years of tax-free growth in that account. Wow. When you consider the parents and the kids, that's a lot of tax-free growth. So, and all you got to do to get that is convert it today and pay the tax on it, and then you've got tax-free growth on that account.
Wow, that sounds like a great strategy.
Well, it is a good strategy. It's always been a good strategy. Yep. Always. If you've got the money to pay the tax, yep, it's a good strategy. But now it seems to be an even better strategy, given that the tax rates have gone down, number one, yep, and number two, with sunset legislation, they're set to expire in the year 2025. See, that's the one thing that I think has been missed to a certain degree in the mainstream press, is that these tax rates are set to go back. And who knows what's going to happen, yep, in the year 2025. Yep. Who knows? But, you know, as financial advisors, yep, and financial planners, we have to plan for this stuff. Yep. So what's the worst thing that can happen? Well, they continue these lower rates beyond 2025. You still did your conversion, and you still have tax-free growth.
Yeah. Now, when we talk about other strategies, is there things we can do per calendar year that are advantageous?
So one strategy that we've been talking about is bunching. Yep. Bunching. So what bunching does is, because what's happening, I'm going to take a step back here for a moment. The standard deduction has been significantly increased. It's like $24,000 a year for a married couple. Mm-hmm. It's like $12,000 a year for a single person. That's going to encompass the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people don't have itemized deductions over those amounts. So it's going to cover most people. Now, what you can do is, by bunching, you can take itemized deductions the one year, and then the standard deduction the next year. Yep. Okay, so how do you do that? Well, you can make charitable contributions in one year and not make them in the next. Yep. One thing that we do with our clients is we set up donor-advised funds. Mm-hmm. So you can put a donor. So what a donor-advised fund is, it's an account where you can put money in, and it sits there as an investment. then you can put as much as you want to in there. And it sits in there as an investment. You get the tax deduction in the year that you make the donation, and then you make your donations to charity as you see fit. So you can build up a balance or a war chest, if you will. So you can make your donations to the charity over time, but you could lump sum that money into this donor advised fund.
Okay.
So you can do that. And then medical expenses too, you can try to bunch them into 1 year, and then the next year you don't take as much. So there's really, I think that's a very effective way to take advantage of what they're giving us, and that is a very increased standard deduction, $24,000 if you're married, and then the next year you can itemize.
Yep.
By taking advantage of the donor advised funds. Maybe you can straddle your medical deductions, property taxes, things of that nature.
Yep.
Now, with respect to property taxes and other taxes, they put a limit on the amount that you can deduct, and you can only deduct $10,000. So you have to be mindful of that, because that's going to affect some people where there's some limits. Now here, and especially in other states, here in Pennsylvania, our state income tax is it's low relative to other states.
Yep.
Some of the other states, I know my son works in New Jersey, for example, and he's got to pay higher state income tax there in New Jersey than we do here in Pennsylvania.
Yeah. And we talk about required minimum distributions in IRAs. What do we have there as far as gifting?
Yeah, so required minimum distributions. So when you're 70 and a half, and the people that are over 70 and a half and are watching us here today know this. You got an IRA. You have to take a required minimum distribution, an RMD. What you can do with your RMD, if you're over 70, is you can make the contribution directly to a charity, and then it does not count as gross income. All right?
Yep.
So let's say you have an RMD of $5,000 for 2018. You can direct your RMD provider, or your IRA provider. Okay, you can tell them, just instead of sending the check to you, send it directly to my church, or send it directly to my charity.
Yep.
And then what happens is you get a write-off in the form of, you don't have to report that as income.
Wow. Okay.
Now, it's not just RMDs. I think there's a limit on that. And you and I were talking about this yesterday. I think it's like $100,000.
Yep.
So that's significant. So that's a significant planning tool that is, again, often overlooked because it's not publicized a lot. But if you have large IRA balances, particularly like for those clients of ours who don't have children,
Yep.
and they're not really concerned about leaving on a legacy to their kids because they don't have kids, or maybe you do have kids but you still want to benefit a charity, you can do this strategy where you're sending the RMD payments or any distribution from a tax qualified account directly to the charity.
Yeah. And so we've talked a lot about the tax law change. What are some savings vehicles, maybe from your employer or if you're self-employed, that will help lower your taxes?
Well, with your employer, it's it's your 401k. I always say the 401k is probably one of the greatest inventions in the history of financial products because it allows the average saver, the average investor, to save money, invest money on a tax-advantaged basis systematically, right through your paycheck. When you're doing it that way, it's the most harmless, seamless way to do it. one of my first managers when I got into this business, he always used the phrase, pay yourself first. And when you think about it, you're getting a paycheck, and that's the first thing that's coming off the paycheck is the payment to your 401k account, including before they even calculate taxes, because when you put the money into the 401k, it reduces your taxes right away. So it's a great vehicle, and it's a great way to save. And, you know, for our younger viewers out there today, you know, studies have shown that younger people aren't saving enough. So if your employer offers a 401k, take advantage of it and contribute. Maybe your employer matches. But even if they don't have a matching program, it's still a good idea because you're saving money. And you're going to need money in retirement because guess what, Steve? The pensions are going away. It used to be, you know, pensions were heavily relied upon for retirement income just a generation ago. And now they're going away.
Yep.
So the 401k is very valuable. The other thing, if you don't have access to a 401k where you work, IRAs.
Okay.
So you can still contribute to an IRA. If you're under 50, you can put in $5,500 a year. If you're over 50, you can put in an extra $1,000 through this catch-up provision. So $6,500 a year you can put into an IRA. If you're married, you can put that amount in for your spouse as well. Mm-hmm. So the IRA and the 401k are very, very valuable planning tools here.
So it seems like a lot of planning would be needed to really implement these. So an informed family, what does that look like, the planning process?
Well, it looks like, I mean, it's everything. You know, when you're planning for retirement, you have to have, you have to have a. That's why we call it planning.
Yep.
You have to have a plan in place. You can't just go in there haphazardly and say, okay, well now I'm going to retire and hopefully this is going to work.
Yep.
You know, hope is not a strategy.
Yeah.
So, you know, you have to allow all these things that the government is giving us. You have to work them to your advantage. So if they lower taxes and, you know, allow you to invest in tax deferred instruments, take advantage of it. You know, but you have to have some kind of a plan because and it's much more than just investing. It's risk. It's managing your income in retirement. It's using asset allocation. It's providing guarantees. There's so much to planning, financial planning, and we do it all.
Yep.
We do it all at Informed Family. So if you have questions about anything that we've talked about today, the tax law, some of these investment strategies, the Roth conversion, give our office a call. The number's up on the screen. If you want to give us shoot us an email, we'd be happy to sit down and talk to you. Also,
and I know not only has the tax law been in the news, but also things around being a fiduciary. Can you enlighten us on that and what that means?
Well, what a fiduciary means is that you're acting in a capacity that's in the best interest of your client. Which sounds like, well, geez, shouldn't you always be doing that? Well, yeah, you should be, and we do. You know, because of our capacity as investment advisors, we've always acted in that role. But it's become a much more enforced standard.
Yep.
In the industry in light of some of this legislation that's been going back and forth, quite frankly, over the last couple of years. But it doesn't change the way we do business.
Yep.
We always have acted in that fiduciary standard where we're acting in the best interest of our clients. And that's what you want. You know, for those viewers out there today, if you're working with somebody who doesn't adhere to a fiduciary standard, really you ought to think twice about whether you want to be working with that person, because if they're not working for you, who are they working for? You know, so that's important. And we take the show on the road, Steve. So we're all over the county. You know, sometimes we're here in Pottstown. We're going to be in Bluebell within the next couple of weeks. You know, we do workshops right around our office, our main office, which is down in Norristown, West Norriton. But those shows give you a chance to come out and see us live. So you can always come and call our office for tickets.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to add about the taxes, Jeff?
Well, I would just say that you know, be mindful of these revisions, because it's going to affect how you're going to pay taxes in 2018. And that's why we're doing the show in this manner today, because as we transition from doing your 2017 taxes to planning for 2018, you want to take advantage of some of these things that are being given to you. And of course, they're taking some things away too. Like, for example, the personal exemption, we didn't even talk about that, but that's going away.
Yep.
You know, so if you have kids, or, you know, your exemptions, they're going away. So you should probably, you know, we'd be happy to talk to you, because, you know, this is financial planning. But also your tax professional, you should be talking to your tax professional as well, if you have one. You know, if you have somebody that's doing your taxes, you should be sitting down with them and saying, okay, this is the history of what happened last year, but now what's going to happen next year, and what do I need to be doing to plan for my tax situation going forward. So, with all that being said, I know we covered a lot of ground here today on Financially Speaking, but this was important information. So with all that being said, we're going to sign off here, and this is Financially Speaking with Jeff Bush.